Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Ayo me fele sama,
Me fele sama,
mama me fele sama,
me fele sama,
isa me fele sama,
me fele sama,
ay mama me fele sama,
me fele sama,
brother me fele sama,
me fele sama, me fele sama, me fele sama, me fele sama, me fele sama, me fele sama.
mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama, mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama, mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama, mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Ayo me fele sama,
Me fele sama,
mama me fele sama,
me fele sama,
isa me fele sama,
me fele sama,
mama me fele sama,
me fele sama,
me fele sama.
me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama, mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama. Ayo.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine pele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama,
Ayo me fele sama,
me fele sama,
mama me fele sama,
me fele sama,
isa me fele sama,
me fele sama,
mama me fele sama,
me fele sama,
mama me fele sama,
me fele sama,
isa me fele sama.
me fele sama.
gotkushTV presents gotkushTV presents Sankofa, The Future of Black History, a unique Black History Month online series exploring all dimensions of time as we chronicle the Black past, command the Black present, and empower the Black future. Workshops include The Future is Black. Why is Black history under attack? With ShakaRa, We Create Value, the ingenuity of enslaved Africans, with Robin Walker, Ancestral Calling, Agriculture, and the Opobo Library Initiative, with Aya Eneli, Quantum Field Theory as African Heritage, with Asar Imhotep. For full information including dates and registration, visit gotkushtv.com. We have made history. We are making history. There is history still to be made. Sankofa, The Future of Black History, a Black History Month series not to be missed.
Fire burn them dirty king, blaze up them dirty king, fire burn them king. Send him disastrous, and time he fast with us, ancestors walk with us, fire burn them king. Tenamwadi, be thankful unto the Mother, Father, Creative Life Force of the universe. Kudzai Muzumukuru. Give praises unto our great ancestors, Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahodi, African liberation and African power for all African people. Greetings and welcome, kings and queens. You don't know, say it's Zivanayi, back to the original format. And I want to send a shout out to all the brothers and sisters who join us throughout the month of Messiah, where we took things on another level and focused on honoring the prophet and the legacy of the UNIAACL kings and queens. You know, we had some powerful sessions. And if you have not caught them, go through the archives right now, yeah, and catch them, kings and queens. But we're there again tonight. All right, we're there again tonight, and we're gonna have a powerful conversation. So stay tuned. I will be sharing the link shortly. In fact, let me do this right now. I'm going to share the link here at the top of the chat on the gotkushTV channel. Yeah, I'm going to share the link at the top of the chat on the gotkushTV channel. Okay, and so what I want you to do, yeah, is if you are watching anywhere, because I'm multi-streaming at the moment, if you are watching anywhere other than gotkushTV, you have to come to True and watch on gotkushTV to be able to come live in the conversation. No. Sorry for the feedback, kings and queens. All right, so you have to come through live on gotkushTV to join the conversation on the panel. Okay, if you are going to stay, just stay within the chat, and you want your comment to be read, you have to tag, yes, tag at gotkushTV to be able to get your comment read. I will see your comment and be able to read it from there. So, okay, kings and queens, the link is in the chat. The link is in the chat. The link is in the chat if you're watching via gotkushTV. And as you have seen via the promotion, the information that has gone out about today's session, we are going to be discussing the film Oppenheimer. Yeah. When we did go see, I went to see it on my birthday, actually. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know, my empress, they wanted to do something for my birthday. And she knew I wanted to go see the film. So we finally went to go see the film, yeah, on my birthday last week. All right. A week ago today, in fact. Yeah. And so, yeah, we did go see the film, you know, a very interesting film. So we're going to come to that conversation there little more. All right. So stay tuned for that conversation. But first and foremost, let me send my honor, love, and condolences to the family of brother Gebra. Yes, the brother that we and know as Gebra. Yeah, some of you may know brother Gebra from around the community. He was a member of the organization Afrocentricity International. He was also a member of a drumming collective called the Sangoma Drummers, and plenty players them go about the place and drum, you know, for different occasions, whether it's funerals, naming ceremonies, marriages, you know, and sometimes that, for example, when our sister, oh my, why is her name just not in my head at the moment? It will come back to me, but our sister who was recently shot in the head, activist sister. Somebody remind me of our sister's name and type it in the chat, please, because it's just gone out my head at the moment. But the Sangoma drummers were instrumental in just going down there and to outside the hospital and, you know, beating some ritual drums in her honor and for her healing. And so Brother Gebra was among that number, yeah, on many occasions, kings and queens. And so many of us will know Brother Gebra as an Al-Kebra. I got to know him because he was a member of our induction program, yeah, and was a supporter of the Al-Kebra revivalist movement. So he kind of comes into the community, you know, as a member of the Al-Kebra revivalist movement induction program. And that is how I got to know Brother Gebra. And ever since, he never became an actual member of the Al-Kebra revivalist movement, but was just a regularly seen member of the community. And, you know, many of us knew him, and he passed away. I'm forgetting the exact day, so forgive me, but within the last few days, we got the news on Umoja Day, Sunday, gone, whilst we were at Shumida. So, but he passed away on Imani Day, Saturday. My Empress is now informing me, yeah. And so his older brother, I made to understand, has announced that he was suffering from liver cancer. And we know that Brother Gebra had various health challenges, but this particular one that resulted in his passing was liver cancer, yeah. And he had been hospitalized for a while. And so I just want to send honor and love to the family of Brother Gebra, the community who are all currently mourning, and in particular those who are members of Afrocentricity International and the Sangoma drummers, who you know, were brothers and sisters that he was organizing with and developing and building with. Yeah. So honor to the spirit of Brother Gebra. As we say, may he rise on the wings of Ma'at after a favorable judgment in the Council of Assar. May the ancestors be pleased, yeah, with his work and embrace him into the realm of the ancestors with open arms. Asher, Asher, Asher. And we will pour libation to him at the appropriate moment. I've seen a message from the family that says that funeral arrangements will be announced soon, and when they are announced by the family, we will be sure to make sure that brothers and sisters are aware and know, because we know that many brothers and sisters do Brother Gebra. All right. So once again, condolences to the family, Brother Gebra, and elevation to the spirit of Brother Gebra. Sasha Johnson, give thanks. Sasha Johnson. Yeah. Why why that was slipping me at the time is beyond me. But yeah, Sasha Johnson is a sister who the Sangoma drummers were instrumental in developing and gathering around ritually over the past few years. Okay, so honor to the life of Brother Gebra. Yeah. And also, as you saw in the opening, Kings and Queens, we have an event coming up next month. Now, here's what I want brothers and sisters to do. Yeah, because part of what we're doing with this event is that we are fundraising for gotkushTV. Okay, and there are a lot of things that are needed behind the scenes, particularly equipment for production and editing and so on and so forth. Okay, and so I want brothers and sisters to not just register. Yeah, now, but first and foremost, let me announce the event. All right, Sankofa, the future of Black history. Yeah, it's a Black History Month series. Yeah, we're going to be taking on Black History Month next month. Yeah, going through the thing, and there are 4 presentations and sessions within the series. Okay, and the whole idea and ethos of this Black History Month series is to do what it says on the tin, which is focus on historical analysis and exploration, specifically in ways that relate directly to future progression and future development. Yeah, because as Baba John Henry Clark says, history is past, present, continuous. And sometimes we can lose that understanding because people often treat history, especially history as it relates to African people, as though it's just about living in the past. Yeah. And the reality is that that is never the case. All right. Our major subject today for this Zivanayi is actually an example of that, because we are going to be analyzing from a Pan-African perspective a film that is based upon real history. And it is understood in the production of this film that that film and the messages in that film have real lessons and implications for today's world, where the lessons for us as African people may be different to the lessons for the audience, yeah, that Oppenheimer was designed for. However, we are going to be looking at it from an African perspective today, Kings and Queens. So I want you to stay tuned for that one there. All right. But session one, as you can see here on the 4th of October, is going to be led by myself, and we're going to be looking at the future is black, why black history is under attack. We're going to be delving into the history of Black History Month in the USA and the UK, and the purpose, yes, the purpose for which it was established, because many people every year ask questions such as, why do we allow them to give us a month to celebrate our history? Yes. And so we're going to be exploding those myths. All right. But we're going to be doing that, yeah, as a case study for addressing a lot of the attacks that have taken place in recent times as far as African history is concerned. All right. One of those attacks, for example, yeah, is last year when Elizabeth of Windsor passed away. There was a lot of talk about reparatory justice, yeah, reparatory justice, and the extent to which the British monarchy is duty bound to engage in the process of reparatory justice. Notice I didn't say pay reparations, but engage in the process of reparatory justice in relation to its former colonies. Yeah. And so this question was asked on a television show, CNN, Don Lemon in America, and a British lady was on the show, and she began her answer to this question by stating that when you're dealing with such issues, you have to go to the beginning of the supply chain. And the supply chain began in Africa with African chiefs. Yeah, this is an attack on African historical narrative and its implications for the issue of reparations. When we look at issues such as the recent ousting of Professor Hakim Ali from his post at the University of Chichester as the only African historian of African history employed at a university in the UK, we see an attack against African history and the African historical narrative. When we look at the recent attacks against leading reparations activist Sister Esther Stanford Jose, an MP in Parliament who asked a question recently of the Prime Minister about an apology for slavery, Sister Ribeiro Addy. Yeah, we see an attack against African history. And so there are many, all of which I haven't mentioned here. We'll get into them in the presentation, but we're going to look at what purpose these levels of attacks serve, yes, in today's world. Why is the Western, when we look at Ron DeSantis in America and Florida in particular, and the so-called anti-woke curriculum, yes, and the narrative of the experience of African enslavement that they want to push, we see an attack against African history. And so we're going to be delving into that on the 4th of October. All right, and we're going to be looking into the real purpose of history and why us being able to control our historical narrative is essential for our future development, what that means for our future. The second session on the 11th is with the one and only Robin Walker. We create value, the ingenuity of enslaved Africans. So we're going to be attacking the idea that enslaved Africans somehow benefited from Americans in particular and Europeans in general enslaving us. Yeah. And so, yeah, we're going to delve into that. And that has many implications for our future development in terms of science, in terms of technology, in terms of how we view African indigenous cultures and civilizations scientifically and technologically. And if we view them negatively in the past, and we're going to view them negatively in the present, and we're not going to engage them progressively for our future development. But it also has implications, other political implications as regards that as well. That's on the 11th. And then on the 18th, we have our sister Aya Eneli, who is from Opobo, Nigeria, and has founded an initiative called the Opobo Library Initiative. And hers is going to be a personal journey that through which we establish what inspired her to start her agricultural programs and to also begin the Opobo Library, which is currently existing in Opobo in Nigeria right now, kings and queens. Yeah, her journey is one of looking into her ancestral line, reconnecting with African spiritual systems, and developing an educational institute and agricultural programs, to match. All right, kings and queens. So do stay tuned. We're looking forward to that one on the 18th. Yeah, but that one specifically relates to how reconnecting with your own personal ancestral lineage can define mission and purpose and help you in terms of how you decide, yes, to develop your own personal community, ancestral home in this day and age. So that's the future of Black History, kings and queens. Yeah, our sister is creating history through the work that she's doing right about now. And finally, I'm looking forward to this one. And shout out to brother Asar Imhotep. I had the pleasure of being hosted by him yesterday on his platform, Asar Imhotep. Check that out on YouTube. But he's going to be joining us on the 25th of October with a presentation entitled Quantum Field Theory as African Heritage. Quantum field theory is an explanation of what lies at the very foundation, yes, of reality and existence as we know it. And Asar Imhotep is going to make the case that African cultures and civilizations were the first to bring this theory to the world. That quantum field theory, which is a branch of quantum physics, is in fact a gift of African heritage cultures. Yeah, you don't want to miss that one. So each session is £10 each. Yeah, each session is £10. But if you want to book for the whole series, you get a discount. So you're going to get everything for £30, which is, it would have been 40 if you pay for each session individually. All right. So if you want to book for the entire series, which I encourage you to do, yeah, you get all four for £30. If you're paying for one, you're paying £10 a time. All right. So it's all good. You know what I'm saying? But as well, one of the reasons why I encourage you to book for the full series is because all of the videos will be made available for you to watch. So even if you can't join live, and even if you join live but you want to watch it again, you will be able to come back to it at a later point. Yeah, sometimes people, so we have an international audience. So some people in the United States of America, Jamaica, Brazil may not be able to watch at 2 p.m. Which is EST, for example, which is what the time's going to be in certain parts of across the Atlantic. Yeah, we begin at 7 p.m. UK time. Yeah, and so if you are in that category, come through anyway and just watch it when you can. All right, because we're not gonna broadcast this, upon the main channel, at least not for now. Yeah, you have to wait a couple of years for that. All right, so just stay tuned. Yeah, for those releases. However, get them now. All right, and come through. And I would like those who are watching to go to gotkushTV.com. Yes, the website is back. The website is back. gotkushTV.com. Yeah, to get your tickets and your registration and all of these things. But also share up the thing. Share the website. The only thing on there right about now is this event. All right. Share the website information. Download the flyer. Yes, from the website and share it far and wide. Yeah, assist. Yeah, me no care where you're there. Me no business if you're there are UK, London, Birmingham, Manchester. Whether you're there Jamaica, whether you're there Trinidad. Me no business if you're there Ukraine. Me no business if you're there Brazil. Me no business if you're there Canada. Me no business if you're there Morocco. Yeah, share the thing far far and wide, kings and queens. All right, and make sure that we have full houses for each of our guests, including myself, for the duration of this Black History Month series. I guarantee you it is going to be powerful levels and all the way turn up. Yeah, we're now ramp inside. And as I said before, we are also using this as an opportunity to raise some money to get some necessary equipment for gotkushTV. So all those who are supporting not just the series, but the development of the platform, the media institution that is gotkushTV, may I look forward to see it come true, kings and queens. All right, so stay tuned for more information on this event. And I'm looking forward to it myself. All right, that's enough on that. But once again, the information is across the bottom of the screen here. gotkushtv.com. gotkushtv.com. Share up the thing far and wide. All right, okay. All right, so let's get into the major city nation now. Let's get into the major city nation. Yeah, we're gonna come through this situation, yeah, and going at the Oppenheimer boogies. Yeah, the Oppenheimer boogies. Before I do that, let me just shout out everybody who are coming at the chat. Yeah, big up Scattered Minds, Tahaka in the building. Oh, you ain't seen it yet. I'd like for you to see it yet, because I know so you gotta have some good analysis, so we give thanks. So yeah, but you might not be able to catch it in the cinema no more though. So if you gotta go, you have to go like the next few days, I think, because it's been out for a while still. Big up to Leo in the building. Bigging up Mr. IC3. I feel like I ain't seen you around for a little while. Big up Mr. Eli Wananda. Yeah, so may I encourage the people then to go subscribe to this channel here. Yeah, Eli Wananda. He hosts a number of beautiful conversations and also book readings. Yeah, which is something that we're going to be doing on gotkushTV at some point, kings and queens, soon. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. All right, but check out brother Eli, yeah, and the work that he's doing over there, kings and queens. Yeah, a serious brother that you need to get to know about, and all of the people that he brings through his channel. It's a pleasure to have you watching, my brother. Give thanks. Bigging up Mr. Javier Melaman. You don't know, more Pan-Africanism always. That's how we do the thing. All right, Kushti, the prodigal daughter has returneth to I. You know what I'm saying? So we give thanks. Yeah, we give thanks for that. Heru, we give thanks. Rosie Rose, we give thanks. Repatriation Nation, we give thanks. James O, we give thanks. Chris H, we give thanks. And of course, Coffee Campbell with the usual defenses of the American government. We give thanks. All right. Jadorian, you don't know, King. Jadorian Chimurenga. Yeah, Chimurenga. We're going to do a show on gotkushTV called Chimurenga. Watch out. And if you know what Chimurenga means, a serious thing that. Yeah, but stay tuned for more information, kings and queens. All right, Chimurenga. All right, some serious one that. Yeah. Okay. Scattered Minds. There's 4. Yeah, there's 4. So you have to sign up for all 4, but you can sign up for all 4 for the price of 3. All right. So yeah, remember that there's 4 sessions, but you can sign up for all 4 for the price of 3. I'm gonna look forward to that. You know what I'm saying? I look forward to that. Yeah. Seeing you come through and your contribution to the discussions that are going to take place afterwards. All right. So Oppenheimer. Yeah. Some serious film that. Yeah. Now, first and foremost, let me just say that it's more or less a surety that this film is mash up. Yeah. Awards, yeah, at the Oscars next year. All right, it's that there's no doubt about it. Yeah, it was very well made. All right, from a artistic scripting point of view, from a cinematography point of view, the thing was mad. Yeah, and me I'll even have to watch it again for taking all of the devices with them use. Yeah, that Christopher Nolan, the director, used, yeah, to put this film together. All right, so I'm getting into that whole vibration of production and direction. Like I'm observing these things a bit more, and so from that point of view, can't really be faulted. I think for the first hour of the film, if you did not have a proper grasp of the history, yeah, because they go between different times lines and different topics and different stories, personal stories, you might have a difficult time, yeah, pre Wagwan and fully understanding and appreciating Wagwan, yeah. All right, and in fact, let me do this for those who are listening. If you have seen Oppenheimer, give me a power fist, give me the power fist in the chat. Yeah, if you have seen Oppenheimer, give me the power fist in the chat. Yeah, I want to know who me I talk to. If you know they see the film, see the film. By the way, before I get into any further, spoiler alert. All right, now I'm not going to be doing a whole heap of spoilers, but there are going to be some spoilers. All right, so spoiler alert. All right, let me say that from now. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to do a review per se. Yeah. What I'm going to do is engage in an Pan-African analysis of certain aspects of the film. All right. Certain aspects of the film. Yeah. From a Pan-African perspective. And most importantly, from a Pan-African historical perspective. Yeah. Certain things are obvious. Let's get these things out of the way. When we are dealing with these films that are heavily political by nature, the film Oppenheimer is heavily political by nature. But what they tend to do, what Hollywood tends to do with their Eurocentric liberal sensibilities is often, this is not just Oppenheimer, but their films in general, and especially when they're dealing with the African historical experience. What they tend to do is home in on the individual experience so that they don't have space to engage the collective experience. Yeah, because the collective experience would require you to have to engage certain politics, certain ideas, certain dynamics, yeah, that you don't want to highlight. All right. And so this is easily sidetracked and sidelined by focusing on the individual's point of view. And so this was done, particularly in this particular film, through using the view of Oppenheimer himself and the politician boy who was the other Robert Downey Jr.'s character. Why have I forgotten his name? Yeah. Anyway. Having bare forgetful moments in the show Kings and Queens, but so it go. Yeah, but Robert Downey Jr.'s character, who's a congressman in the USA, and so what this allows them to do is negate and justifiably fail to depict certain things on screen. One of the casualties of this view, yes, is, for example, the experience and the impact that the Manhattan Project, yeah, which was the project through which Louis Strauss, thank you to my Empress for giving me the name. Yeah, Strauss is the name of the politician boy, yeah, who was the other main character played by Robert Downey Jr. In the film. Okay, all right. So one of the things that this allows them to do is not take into consideration the indigenous people who were the custodians of the land that they commandeered to build this state within a state effectively, yeah, in America to do this project. All right, to do this project, yeah. Now, there was an indigenous community. That land was known to be indigenous land. And the project, yes, had an impact on that community. during the project and after the project, and they allude to it. Yeah, you know, at some point in the film, somebody asked Oppenheimer, "What should we do with the land?" And he said, "Give it back." Yeah, to the Native Americans. All right, to the Indians. All right, he must give it back. Yeah, I'm not sure if that actually ever happened. I'm yet to research that particular aspect of the film. All right, but there is no view of the indigenous people and the impact that this had on the indigenous people. Yeah. Similarly, there is no view of when the USA eventually used the bomb to bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and they tend to focus mostly on Hiroshima in this film. There is no view of the impact of that bomb. Yes, on Japan. All right. There's no view of the impact and the fallout from the bomb, because many of the people that died, and I'm made to understand 85% of the people that died were not combatants but civilians, did not die from the impact of the explosion, but died from the effect of the radiation after the bomb. Some people thought they were lucky. They came out with some minor injuries. Come to find out it's a radiation kill. Yeah. And, you know, took care of them after. Yes. Well after the bomb. And Japan continued to feel the impacts of that for years to come. There's also impact upon some of the people, the staff, yeah, because not everybody was a scientist and a big billionaire or a politician that was on the Manhattan Project, yeah, that was charged with the task of creating this bomb, this atomic bomb, hydrogen bomb. All right. The staff, the radiation from all of the testing had impacts upon the workers as well. This is not necessarily explored in the film. What happens instead is that we get to see images of Oppenheimer that suggest he's in conflict about the dropping of this bomb. So instead of seeing the Japanese suffering with the effects, we see Oppenheimer visualizing in his mind an audience of white Americans who he's speaking to suffering from the effects of the bomb. Yes, because, you know, we can't, as far as the myth of white supremacy is concerned, the universality of whiteness, real pain has to be experienced, yeah, in white skin, yeah, for it to be relevant. All right. And that's a regular trope, yeah, within Hollywood, that whenever they're telling somebody else's story, they have to give you the lens, yes, of a white character, yes, for the audience to relate to that character, if that makes sense. The audience is supposed to see this issue through the lens of the white character, yes, and the white character must always be redeemable and humanized, yeah, right? We must always redeem and humanize the white character, okay? And this is normal, yeah? We expect this, all right, from Hollywood. This is the nature of Eurocentrism. That's what it does, okay? But when we're talking about Eurocentrism as a power dynamic, it's important for us as African people to be able to critically analyze and break down those dynamics and see them for what they are. Okay, so what I've said so far, again, we expect this, yeah, from Hollywood. It's Hollywood, okay, but many of us engage Hollywood unthinkingly and unquestioningly. So we have to highlight some of these dynamics that should be obvious. All right. So like I said before, some of the things that I'm mentioning right now should be obvious. Yeah. But then to flesh this out even further, before the film came on, we saw a trailer. Yeah, for another film that's coming out, I believe in November, Napoleon. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this film. I'm looking forward to seeing how and we're probably going to break it down. In fact, I may get a panel together, yeah, to break down that Napoleon film, all right, on gotkushTV. All right, but that brought to my mind how they humanize mass murderers and imperialists, yeah, when they're European. Okay, they're able to do this all the while. Them do it with them royal family. Them do it with Winston Churchill. You know, them do it with everybody other than Hitler. Yeah, Hitler cannot be humanized. All right, you know what I'm saying, because he killed white people. All right, so yeah, Hitler is a freak of nature. He's the only devil in history that cannot be humanized. All right, all of the rest of them, yeah, who are responsible for what Hitler did and more, yes, all of them can be humanized. All right, and so Napoleon is one such individual. Yeah, but this is not the case when it comes to Africans. So me and my empress were reasoning in the car back home, and I was asking if she's seen this film, The Last King of Scotland. Yeah, starring Forrest Whitaker. Yeah, and the Baccarat who played Professor X in the latter films, the young Baccarat, I can't remember his name. Professor X in the latter X-Men films. Yeah, all right, and how they completely dehumanize, yes, Idi Amin. And this is not what's the word, advocacy, yes, of Idi Amin per se at this moment in time. That's not what we're doing. What we are saying is that whatever Idi Amin did, he's not responsible for the kind of mass murder that was produced from the dropping of the atomic bomb. He's not responsible for the kind of invasion, conquest, and mass murder that people like Napoleon and Winston Churchill are responsible for. But Idi Amin must be completely dehumanized, whilst the same industry that dehumanizes Idi Amin humanizes Oppenheimer, humanizes Napoleon, and humanizes Winston Churchill. Yeah, and so an inordinate amount of time is spent at the latter part of the film after the bomb is dropped, showing Oppenheimer making all kinds of conflictual faces. Yes, in reality, Oppenheimer defended the dropping of that bomb continuously. What he began to feel uncomfortable with was the extent to which the USA will go down this nuclear proliferation road. Yeah, and so he had some issues with how the government was flexing afterwards and made some statements around that, but defended the dropping of the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to the day that he died. Okay, but just putting that on the screen humanizes this European, rich, wealthy European who comes from a rich, wealthy family. Yes, a rich, wealthy family that is prolific, yeah, within the project of Western imperialism, right? It gives him that human face. And so Oppenheimer's conflict humanizes him in ways that the indigenous people whose land was affected by this project are not humanized. Oppenheimer is humanized in ways that the Japanese upon whom this bomb was dropped are not humanized. Yes, by superimposing the effects of the Japanese onto white Americans, they humanize even the white Americans. Yes, more than they humanize the victims of the bombing in general. Okay, I'm gonna talk for a bit longer than I usually do today, kings and queens, but bear with me. We're gonna get into some history now. All right. So for those who are not aware, yeah, Albert Einstein features in this film. And one of the things, if I'm not mistaken, now I need to watch this again, but I don't remember them referring directly to Albert Einstein's relationship to the creation of this bomb. Now, bear this in mind, yeah, and I want my brothers and sisters who are advocates of scientific literacy, yeah, and I should say advocates of scientific literacy divorced from political education and literacy. Yeah, divorced from political education and literacy. Why? I want you all to listen to this very carefully. Those brothers and sisters who seem to think that science in 2023 exists in a realm beyond political and economic considerations. I want to listen to this carefully, because Albert Einstein is arguably the most noted and greatest scientist of the 20th century. Yes, very well celebrated. Yeah, made significant contributions towards scientific development. All right. But what was the geopolitical world that Albert Einstein was operating within? And to what system and a political and economic agenda was his scientific talents geared towards developing? So we're going to go to some book, yeah? Before I go to the book, it seems that nobody in the chat has seen Oppenheimer. Am I correct? If you have not seen Oppenheimer, just type no in the chat for me, please. Yeah? You see that? No, I want to see Oppenheimer. Big up, set him on tip. See you. Yeah? I'm going to bring it through. All right. So anybody who has not seen Oppenheimer, just type no in the chat. No, say Oppenheimer to reggae. Yeah. Tell the truth. The whole lot of the go see Barbie, innit? That's what's going on. Everybody around go see Barbie. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Everybody around go see Barbie. All right. So one said not yet. No. No, we're not masochistic. I don't even know what that means, but okay. You know. But I guess, yeah, I you know, we expect that. So yeah, no one here has seen it. My Empress says she's seen it. Yeah. So yeah, you know what I'm saying? We saw it together. All right. Meloman say no, he's been broke. That's because you're not capitalist enough, my brother. You need to engage more in the capitalism. Then you wouldn't be broke, because capitalism solves all problems of brokenness. All right. So you need to get involved in the capitalism. All right. Scatterman says, "One up, Barbie Heimer." I've seen some people getting vexed over the show, over that film, you know, like people invested in it. I did a response to one sister who appeared on Piers Morgan, vexed about the ones. Like, why are you as a black woman vexed because the Barbie movie wasn't good for you? Like, when has Barbie ever represented African people in general and African women in particular? All right. Well, it no matter. I'm gonna give you one history lesson, same way. All right. I'm gonna give you one history lesson, same way. Yeah. So my history lesson, because I was gonna be related to this particular imagery in the film, and I was gonna ask if anybody can remember what this imagery was about. Yeah, in the film. Okay, but true, no, never watched the film. No. So this bowl and this wine glass, yes, are used as a prop in the film to represent the progress in acquiring and developing and refining uranium and plutonium. The big bowl that you see on your left hand side, yeah, was the uranium bowl, and on your right hand side, the wine glass is the plutonium glass. And so they had to fill up the bowl and the glass with marbles to represent them having acquired the level, the amount of uranium and plutonium that them need, yeah, to create the bomb. Okay? All right. So that was the visual aid that they use in the film. But what they never did is explore how they were going to acquire the uranium and how they were going to acquire the plutonium. Yeah? And again, the focus on the individual story, the personal narrative, yes, allows you to not engage in those kinds of explorations, yeah? And so, wow, it's riveting stuff, yeah, to get into the personal story. And I enjoy character-driven dramas. I really do. Yeah, they're my favorite kinds of films. I like when the thing is character driven. All right. But I understand what that is as a political play. Yes. As well as a creative choice. Bear that in mind. All right. So we're going to leave the plutonium for one side today for the sake of time. And then we're going to explore the uranium. Yeah. Where them get the uranium from? For the Manhattan Project, the uranium that created this bomb. Yeah, the uranium that created this bomb. Let's go in at the thing right now. I'm going to take you to one book. Yeah, I'm going to take you to one book. Yeah, which is entitled Spies in the Congo, America's Atomic Mission in World War II, which I prefer to call Mass European War II. Yes, which I prefer to call Mass European War II. And this book is by a woman called Susan Williams. All right, Susan Williams. Yeah. So I make sure you can see the book. All right, I'm gonna big it up, large it up, so you can read along with I. All right. So we read on 2nd of August 1939, Albert Einstein, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist, signed a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt warning of the potential of Hitler's Nazi regime to develop an atomic bomb. This is the most celebrated, arguably the most celebrated scientist in the history. Yes, certainly of the 20th century. Albert Einstein. Yeah. What did he write to Roosevelt about? Not scientific discovery and exploration. Yes, he never wrote him about quantum physics. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And E equals MC squared. Yeah, he never write about that. Yes. Nobel Prize winning physicist, and note that Nobel Prize winning, yeah, because that means something. All right, the Nobel Prize is a geopolitical award system. Okay, Nobel Prize winning physicist signed a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt warning of the potential of Hitler's Nazi regime to develop an atomic bomb. Some recent research, he told Roosevelt, quote, leads me to expect that the element uranium may be turned into a new and important source of energy in the immediate future, which would make it possible to set up a nuclear chain reaction, generating vast amounts of power. This new phenomenon, he said, would lead to the construction of, quote, extremely powerful bombs of a new type. He added that Germany had stopped selling the uranium from Czechoslovakian mines. It had taken over, and he recommended giving particular attention to the problem of securing a supply of uranium ore for the United States. Einstein was a pacifist, but he wanted to prevent Nazi Germany from having sole possession of this new destructive power. Okay? So, scientist, pacifist, but he understands, yeah, the geopolitics of the time. So I'm saying, listen, President, here I know. You see this thing here? Serious things this. Big weapons this. Only if you take care of the business. It's my translation. Yeah? Of Einstein's words. And I'm revising something that I said earlier. I don't believe they explicitly depict Einstein's contribution to the thing. Maybe at the end of the movie, and I can't remember exactly what he said, but maybe right at the end of the movie, they acknowledge something in a conversation between Einstein and Oppenheimer. Yeah, but I'll have to watch it again to revise what was actually said. Yeah, there. Right. So we'll come back to that at a later date. Okay. Now, I'm going to come back to this book, but the question then becomes, What did Einstein write? Yes, what did Einstein write? So let's go to Einstein's letter. Yeah, let's go to Einstein's letter and break down the thing. Okay, we're going to Einstein letter. Einstein says, sirs, some recent work by E. Fermi and L. Szilard, which has been communicated to me in manuscripts, leads me to expect that the element uranium may be turned into a new and important source of energy in the immediate future. Certain aspects of the situation which has arisen seem to call for watchfulness and, if necessary, quick action on the part of the administration. What administration? The American administration. All right. I believe, therefore, that it is my duty to bring to your attention the following facts and recommendations. In the course of the last 4 months, it has been made probable through the work of Joliot in France, as well as Fermi and Szilard, I don't know how you pronounce that name, in America, that it may become possible to set up a nuclear chain reaction in a large mass of uranium, by which vast amounts of power and large quantities of new radium like elements would be generated. Don't worry if you don't understand the science here. It's not germane to the conversation. All right. Now, it appears almost certain that this would be achieved in the immediate future. This new phenomena would also lend to the construction of bombs, and it is conceivable, though much less certain, that extremely powerful bombs of a new type may thus be constructed. A single bomb of this type, carried by boat and exploded in a port, might very well destroy the whole port, together with some of the surrounding territory. However, such bombs may very well prove to be too heavy for transportation by air. The United States has only very poor ores of uranium in moderate quantities. There is some good ore in Canada and the former Czechoslovakia, while the most important source of uranium is where? Belgian Congo. Why is it referred to as Belgian Congo? Why is it referred to as Belgian Congo? Because we're talking about 1939. And the Congo is currently, at this point, colonized by Belgium. Okay. Yes, Belgian Congo. In view of this situation, you may think it desirable to have some permanent contact maintained between the administration and the group of physicists working on chain reactions in America. Note that, yeah? Develop some relationship between the American state and the scientists. This is what Einstein is advising. One possible way of achieving this might be for you to entrust with this task a person who has your confidence and who could perhaps serve in an unofficial capacity. In or unofficial capacity. That means under the table business. His task might comprise the following: to approach government departments, keep them informed of further development, and to put forward recommendations for government action. Giving particular attention to the problem of securing a supply of uranium for the United States. B, to speed up the experimental work which is at present being carried on within the limits of the budgets of university laboratories by providing funds, if such funds be required, through his contacts with private persons who are willing to make contributions for this cause, and perhaps also by obtaining the cooperation of industrial laboratories which have the necessary equipment. So we're seeing here an alliance between the government, the scientific community, and corporations, corporate America. Why you always stand where I go on? Yes, for the purpose of securing American geopolitical supremacy in the world. I understand that Germany has actually stopped the sale of uranium from the Czechoslovakian mines, which she has taken over. That she should have taken such early action might perhaps be understood on the grounds that the son of the German Undersecretary of State von Weizsäcker is attached to the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute in Berlin, where some of the American work on uranium is now being repeated. What I'm saying? Kaiser Wilhelm Institute in Berlin, where some of the American work on uranium is being repeated. I want to know those text stuck of when I read right there. So we're going to come back to what I was reading, the book I was reading a minute ago. Yeah. And get into some more of the history here. All right. So we're returning now to spies in the Congo. Continues. Einstein's letter fired the starting pistol for America to enter a kind of race that the world had never known before, the race to develop the atomic bomb before Germany. Since it was impossible to build an atomic bomb without uranium ore, it was essential to obtain sufficient ore of a high quality. The United States, Einstein told Roosevelt, has only poor ores of uranium in moderate quantities. There was some good ore in Canada and the former Czechoslovakia, but, quote, the most important source of uranium, he said, was in Africa in the Belgian Congo, now known as the Democratic Republic of the Congo. This source was the Shikolombwe mines. Yeah, bear that in mind. Shikolombwe mines in Katanga, the southernmost province of the Congo, and was owned by a huge Belgian mining company called Union Minière du Haut Katanga. Union Minière du Haut Katanga, also referred to as simply Union Minière. Belgian company. Yes, remember now, Congo is colonized by the Belgians. So they've commandeered the mine. The mine is a labor center, as far as Africans are concerned, through which this Belgian corporation is extracting the mineral wealth for the benefit of not just Belgium, but the entirety of Western Europe. Britain and British companies, the British state and British companies are involved in Belgium at this point. The American state and American companies are involved in Belgium, Congo at this point. Long before this, in fact. Banks like JP Morgan have all their money all up in what is happening in the Belgian Congo at this point. I'm just showing you the pan-European nature of Western imperialism. All right. Shinkolobwe, which is near the town of Jadotaville, now known as Likasi, and nearly 90 miles northwest of Elizabethville, now Lubumbashi, the capital of Katanga, had been used to produce radium, a byproduct of uranium. The mine was a huge open gash about half a mile square with terraced sides that went down about 225 feet. It had been closed in 1937, fell into disrepair and became flooded. However, a large stock of mined uranium ore was still piled there. So bear in mind, yeah, that the mine is locked, you know, but Albert Einstein knows that the uranium did it. How does he know uranium is there? Because Western colonizers have gone there and commandeered the thing. That's how he knows. Yes, them colonize at the place and them are sharing information amongst them one another. They have been prospecting for resources, and the whole of them know what go on. Yeah, he might highlight the thing. The uranium from Shinkolobwe mine, was remarkable. It assayed as high as 75% uranium oxide and with an average of over 65%. This was exceptional in comparison with other ores, that were available. From El Dorado mine in Northwest Territory of Canada and from Colorado Plateau, which contained 0.02% uranium oxide, or from the South African uranium ores derived from gold mine operations, which had a uranium oxide content of the order of 0.03%. Yeah, the one of them was involved in South Africa as well. All right, particularly in the gold trade. But we'll leave that for another day. The unique richness of the Katanga ore was essential at that time for any physicist hoping to build an atomic weapon. You have a relatively rich source of ore, noted Lorna Arnold, a nuclear historian, looking back from the perspective of the 21st century to be, quote, to be able to quickly amass sufficient amounts of uranium metal from which you might either separate out the rare, fissionable isotype or manufacture fissionable plutonium. Yeah, so again, we're putting the plutonium to one side, but uranium was essential to the acquisition of plutonium also. And Shinkolobwe is by far the richest known source of uranium in the world. In response to Einstein's initiative, President Roosevelt in October 1939 set up a uranium committee as an advisory body. So him do exactly what Einstein asked him to do. Yes, which was chaired by Lyman J. Briggs, director of the National Bureau of Standards. Then, when it was discovered in April 1940 that Kaiser Wilhelm Institute of Physics in Berlin had started an extensive research program involving uranium, the committee's work took on a new urgency. It recommended the funding of significant research in the US, especially work at Columbia University in New York on nuclear chain reactions. In June 1940, shortly after Belgium's defeat and occupation by Germany, the Uranium Committee encouraged Edgar Sengier, the managing director of Union Miniere, to move its mine supplies of Congolese uranium to the US for safekeeping. There was serious concern at this time that the Congo might be invaded by Nazi Germany. Sengier later noted having serious reservations about security in Katanga. Before the war, the ore had been shipped to Union Miniere refinery in Belgium. But now that Belgium was occupied by the Nazis, it was decided to ship the ore directly from the Congo to America. I'm gonna leave this part here. All right. Huh? Yeah, I'm gonna leave this part here. All right. We're gonna come just flesh out some of the details here in brief by consulting the Wikipedia article on this subject. All right, on the Manhattan Project. Yeah. All right. So bear with me. This is the last one I'm gonna read before I open up the platform, kings and queens. All right. Okay. We share the wrong thing. Hold on there. We share the wrong thing. Hold on there. Hold on. I appreciate what we're doing here. We're just breaking down some of the Pan-African, the relevant Pan-African history behind Oppenheimer, the film. All right. So them say them need uranium. Them start fill up the board with marble. Them never tell you where they get the uranium, you know. And all of the geopolitical shenanigans were going behind the scenes. All of the corporate shenanigans were going behind the scenes. But as African people, these are the elements of a film like this, of a history like this, that we need to be aware of. And coming back to the subject, the future of Black history. Please. The future of Black history. If this film is important for Western society in any way, shape, or form, and how Western society assesses itself going forward into the future, then we have a responsibility to ask ourselves, where are we in this narrative? And what does where we are in this narrative have to teach us about where we need to go and how we need to develop as a people? But John Henrik Clarke teaches, history, most importantly, history tells a people where they still must go and what they still must be. Wikipedia says, the Combined Policy Committee created the Combined Development Trust. Combined Development Trust, yeah, in June 1944. With Groves as its chairman, to procure uranium and thorium ores on international markets. The Belgian Congo and Canada, thank you, held much of the world's uranium outside Eastern Europe. And the Belgian government in exile was in London. They were in exile because they were defeated by Germany. And there's a whole story about how Germany did thief the uranium, which is part of the reason why Einstein was alarmed by all this stuff. Yeah, that was going on. Okay. Britain agreed. All right, now listen now. Was in London. So bear this in mind now, yeah? Listen. Outside Eastern Europe. The Belgian government in exile was where? In London. Britain agreed to give the United States most of the Belgian ore, as it could not use most of the supply without restricted American research. Yeah, so America was restricting the research. Britain hadn't done as much research as America at this point. Them just give them the ore. Them say, listen, you take it because we can't do nothing with it right now, and it's safe in your hands. Pan-European white nationalism family at work. All right. In 1944, the trust purchased 3,440,000 pounds of uranium oxide ore from companies operating mines in the Belgian Congo. From companies operating mines in the Belgian Congo, which is then under colonization. So what was the impact of these companies and their governments' operations on the masses of our people in the Congo? What was the impact? That is the question. The trust, I've already read that part. To avoid briefing U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, listen now, to avoid briefing U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, the man that deals in the money, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, as far as America is concerned, Henry Morgenthau Jr., a special account not subject to the usual auditing. You remember what Albert Einstein said, you know, about unofficial. War. Not subject to the usual auditing controls was used to hold trust monies between 1944 and his resignation from the trust in 1947. Groves deposited a total of 37.5 million. Groves appreciated the early British atomic research and British scientists' contribution to the Manhattan Project, but stated that the United States would have succeeded without them. The British wartime participation was crucial to the success of the United Kingdom's independent nuclear weapons program. After the war, the McMahon Act of 1946 temporarily ended American nuclear cooperation. That's another subject for another time. We're going to read one more section from this page, and then we're going to open up the lines. All right. I hope ones are learning something from this. All right. I hope ones are learning something from this. All right. Listen now. The key raw material for the project was uranium, which was used as a fuel for the reactors. This is the Manhattan Project now, the project through which they're building this bomb. The key, the number one mineral was uranium, and the number one place to get it was the Congo. Yet the Congo is not mentioned in this film, according to memory. And I welcome somebody correcting me. Let me know if I'm mistaken and the Congo was actually mentioned somewhere in the film. Let me know. I'll be interested to find out where. As a feed that was transformed into plutonium and in its enriched form in the atomic bomb itself. There were 4 known deposits of uranium, as we've already said, in 1940. Colorado, Czechoslovakia, and the Belgian Congo. All but Jacomistal were in Allied hands. In 1942, a 1942 survey determined that sufficient quantities of uranium were available to satisfy the project's requirements. Nichols arranged the State Department for export controls to be placed on uranium oxide. Listen carefully. Nichols arranged for the State Department, the U.S. State Department, for export controls to be placed on uranium oxide, and negotiated the purchase of 1,200 short tons of uranium ore from the Belgian Congo that was being stored in a warehouse on Staten Island, and the remaining stocks of mined ore stored in the Congo. Listen to what's happening here. The State Department in America placed export controls on the exportation of uranium from Congo, which was colonized by Belgium. The American government is able to control how, when, and who with uranium leaves the Congo in 1944. What did I hear me say? Export controls. So euphemism. He negotiated with Eldorado Gold Mines. Eldorado. Yeah, as you can see here, Canadian mining company, for the purchase of ore from its refinery in Port Hope, Ontario. The Canadian government subsequently brought up the company's stock. What? The Canadian government subsequently bought up the company's stock until it acquired a controlling interest. While these purchases assured a sufficient supply to meet wartime needs, the American and British leaders concluded that it was in their country's interest to control as much of the world's uranium deposits as possible. The richest source of ore was the Shin-Kolobwe mine. Read this again. The American and British leaders, governmental leaders, concluded that it was in their country's best interest to control as much of the world's uranium deposits as possible. The richest source of ore was in the Shin-Kolobwe mine in the Belgian Congo. But it was flooded and closed. Nichols, the director of this unofficial vibration, unsuccessfully attempted to negotiate its reopening and the sale of the entire future output of the United States to the United States, with Edgar Sengier, who is the head of Union Miniere, who owns the mine. So look what Nichols is trying to do. This is what Nichols is trying to do. Nichols is trying to negotiate the reopening of the mine, but not just the reopening of the mine. The securing of the entire future output of uranium from the mine in the hands of the US government. The matter was then taken up by the Combined Policy Committee, as 30% of Union Miniere stock was controlled by what? British interests. Mr. Again, 30% of Union Miniere stock was controlled by British interests. The British took the lead in the negotiations. The British took the lead in the negotiations to help America secure access to the blows and skirt uranium. Sir John Anderson and the ambassador John Winant hammered out the deal with Sengier and the Belgian government in May 1944 for the mine to be reopened and for 1,720 short tons of ore to be purchased at $1.45 a pound. To avoid dependence on British and Canadians for ore, Groves also arranged for the purchase of U.S. Vanadium Corporation stockpile in Irvine, Colorado. Uranium mining in Colorado yielded about 800 short tons of ore. The raw ore dissolved into nitric acid to produce uranyl nitrate, which was processed into uranium oxide, which was reduced to highly pure uranium dioxide. By 1942, Mallinckrodt was producing a ton of highly pure oxide a day, but turning this into uranium metal initially proved more difficult. Production was too slow and quality was unacceptably low. A branch of metallurgical laboratory was established in Iowa State College in Iowa under Frank Spedding to investigate alternatives. This became known as the Ames Project, and its Ames process became available in 1943. The history goes beyond this point, family. I'm gonna leave it there. Yeah. But this is the history that, you know, them not gonna show you in the film. Yeah. So it's important, yeah, that we understand. Now, I guarantee you, most Africans watched that film, yeah, and never knew where they got the uranium from. Never know. Yes, it's very important, yeah, that we understand what was going on and how Britain and America in this period began to use its corporations as extensions of its own power, of its political governmental power. If you are watching via gotkushTV, the link is pinned to the chat. Yeah, the link is pinned to the top of the chat. You can join the conversation now. Feel free to join the conversation now, kings and queens. Feel free to join the conversation now. Set Imhotep is in the building. I'm going to bring him through. If you have a question or a comment that you want read out, you have to @gotkushTV. If you do not @gotkushTV, I will not be reading your comment, all right? Because a lot of conversation takes place in the chat. So if you want to get my attention, please @gotkushTV. Okay. So I hope one-to-ones learned something from that. Like I said, I spoke for a lot longer than I usually do, but I'm sure you can appreciate why. That is my brief assessment, yeah, of Oppenheimer. And from a Pan-African perspective, we have to look at the Pan-African analysis therein. And like I said, the story goes beyond this. Yes, the story goes beyond this as far as this history is concerned. But whenever we are engaged in a particular piece of Western media, Western corporate media, because this film is produced by corporations that are attached to governments. Another day, we will go into the influence of the US State Department and its funding, and the US Department of Defense and its funding and greenlighting of films. We will go into propaganda research that was done by the CIA and is now commonplace in marketing, corporations, and media production companies. We should never watch these films and fall for the games and the depictions therein. Papa Garvey teaches us to always be on guard against the propaganda of other people and never swallow their propaganda. He says, treat them as trash. Tear it down and mash it up. Yeah, that's what he says in Message to the People. All right, Mr. IC Freeze in the building. Greetings. So, Imhotep.
Greetings.
Greetings.
Peace, praise, and Pan-African power to a modern prophet of Garveyism in the English-speaking world. ShakaRa Mandaka.
Good to
And
hear
to
your
everybody in the audience, Ashe, and to everybody in the audience and the sound of my voice listening live or after the fact, peace, praise, and Pan-African power to you too. But ShakaRa really came with some bad news today, right? So I don't know if maybe you want to let Brother IC3 go ahead first if he wanted to keep it on topic, because what I wanted to say is only really tangentially related to what we're speaking about, just about the insidious nature of white supremacy in the current.
Go ahead, my brother. No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay.
It's a fairly personal anecdote that I have to share. Last August, my father, who, as I've shared on the show before, lives in the UK at present, was the victim of what they call in the law a racially aggravated harassment. And so he works as a work coach, and I think what that means is he attempts to help people get off of benefits and into productive employment. And so he deals with all manner of citizens.
Yes.
And during the course of having to deny a particular man, or not necessarily deny him his benefits, but inform him that he didn't qualify for certain benefits.
Yeah.
This, and I'll take a page out of Brother Leo Muhammad's book here. Big up, Brother Leo Muhammad. This dirty devil take God out of and spit on my father in the people workplace. My father is a very large man. And before he ever migrated, I really expressed a lot of my concern about whatever what they call it, racially aggravated harassment he might experience across there. And he's a man, again, I've expressed this on the show before, he's married to a white British woman. You understand? So he's not a man with any of the, let's say, predilections or prejudices that I have about these people. No, I mean, I'm quite frank. And so he doesn't have a problem dealing with any and everybody. You
Yes,
dig?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so quite recently, the gentleman had to go to court.
Yeah.
Because he was convicted, but
Mm.
because of well, in the first place, the news reporting on the incident did not whatsoever mention that he spat on my father.
Right.
Because that at least as far as I'm concerned, that colors the story to be a lot less offensive than it really was.
Yes.
And in the second place, he had deferred imprisonment or something like that because of his so-called circumstances. Now, this event occurred this racially aggravated harassment occurred in August last year. And sometime in September, after my father had already called the police and had him arrested, he suffered some sort of heart failure and lost his home. And so they used that in defense of the gentleman in court. And I'm saying, am I supposed to feel bad for you? No, this happened to you because you feel you're scared now that your racist, disgusting action could land you in jail for the rest of your life, and you should feel scared. And I don't feel bad for you, you know. So I really just want to share that with the fam because it's like I don't know how often folks who live in the UK actually experience this on a day-to-day, but I always was very concerned for my father because he's a very large, dark-skinned black man, a good-looking black man too. So he's a prime target, you dig? And so I don't know how often you guys might actually experience it, but I don't know. I guess I just wanted to tell a story a little bit on the program.
I wouldn't say that it's uncommon. It's things that are less common than they used to be. Over Yasser. If you talk to my grandfather generation, yeah, I'd think so. Yeah, if I compare the stories that my grandfather generation tell to my own experience and those after me, I would say that they're less that thing that people spitting on you are less likely to happen today than they would have in the 60s and the 70s. Certainly, I'd say. I think that things are more institutionalized now, and interesting. The benefit system is one of those major ways, right? It's a because I like the fact that you corrected yourself in the sense of your father informing him that he didn't qualify. Yeah, because a lot of this is revolving around the economic situation in the UK, and this is Kent, right? This all took place in what?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so, which is just outside London. I don't know the extent to which, and I think it's less affected by the cost of living crisis than London is, and the housing crisis in particular, because the London crisis is quite specific to London. The housing crisis, sorry, is quite specific to London, but there's a lot of anger around the benefit system and people trying to find work and them being disallowed benefits whilst in the process of trying to find work. And all of these things, and so it seems as though your father, in doing his job, having to there's all kinds of complaints about the benefit system at the moment and universal credit, and your father, in doing his job, has come up against those contradictions, if that makes sense. And it don't take much for that to come out of Europeans, in my experience. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And so go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, to be clear, at least from his testimony, because we speak often, he and I, from his testimony, it doesn't seem that he very often has cause to deny people anything. And in any case, his purpose is not really to get people on benefits; it's to get them into work.
Yeah. That's what those people to do. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? What I'm saying, it is a case though that recently a lot of people have been denied benefits for a number of different reasons. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so it depends on the area that you're working in, and especially since COVID, like a lot of people have gotten their benefits since COVID. For obvious reasons, you know what I'm saying, but I think there's a lot of things taking place now that is trying to reverse those kinds of things. But love to Pops, and I hope he's well, you know what I'm saying, and I don't know what action there is to take forward from this, but I will definitely look into the issue. Yeah,
well, being honest,
sorry. Say again.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, being honest, now he's not really doing too well about it. You know, he just as pissed as me. But I don't really want to share what he's really dealing with in public. You dig?
Yeah.
So
No. I understand that, but yeah, we could have that conversation. You said it was published publicly, the story. So
yeah,
I'm gonna
In the press, which press? Magazine
yeah.
or
If you want,
paper?
I can share my screen and have it open, or I can put it in the back chat.
I got do both. We can check it out.
Yeah, do
Just
both.
just
Do both.
just so brothers and sisters can check it for
It's a
themselves.
very serious core issue, actually. The concept
Yeah.
of employment and culture and values.
Give thanks, King. Share your screen, what's it?
Yeah, I was just can we see it there now?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see
This
it.
subject is Kent. Okay,
Kent
this
Online.
subject is very close to my heart. Extremely
Oh,
close.
shall I read it?
Yeah.
Go on.
So just I'm kind of wound up about it. All right. So from the beginning, pensioner flies into racist tirade inside Folkestone Job Center. A pensioner launched into a tirade of racial abuse inside a job center after being told he did not qualify for benefits. Martin Marsh, this dirty devil. Martin Marsh's outburst at the Folkestone branch was so harrowing, an employee was forced to move branches after suffering, well, here it is, stress-related shingles.
Yeah.
Marsh, who lives in the town, began by rambling about how he thought the number of cubicles was down to the amount of immigrants that crossed the channel. The 66-year-old then blattered about people arriving in the UK in small boats after work coach Edward Young explained he did not qualify for certain benefits. He then addressed Mr. And this is where, as far as I'm concerned, I have the biggest problem with this article. The exclusion, the actual, what I would consider, well, okay, actually, no, it's assault, it's not battery, but the actual assault that this man committed against. Anyway, he then addressed Mr. Young directly and used threatening language before leveling a racist insult during the ordeal in August last year. Now, I should have been clear that this was published the 31st of August this year. So August last year is 2022.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. Right. When staff approached Marsh to eject him from the premises, he swore at them repeatedly. Mr. Young contacted the police, who arrested Marsh of Longhorn Gardens and charged him with racially aggravated harassment. Marsh appeared at Folkestone Magistrates Court on August 24th, where Mr. Young's victim impact statement was read out. This experience left me extremely enraged. I feel unfairly treated, wrote Mr. Young. I go out of my way to treat everyone fairly, as far as I'm concerned, to a fault, but whatever. But I have been treated poorly as a person of color, and especially as a black man. I now feel extremely anxious and have changed the location of where I work because of this. It was also revealed during the hearing that anyway. Oh, I'm trying to keep my commentary out of it. Oh my. It was also revealed during It was also revealed during the hearing that the job center employee is now suffering from stress-induced shingles as a result of the incident. And I don't know if people are familiar with it, but shingles is something that reoccurs in later years if you've had chickenpox in your earlier years, and it tends to leave you quite fatigued. And he's somebody who, because as I said, he's quite a large, fit, muscular man. You dig? He tries to keep his fitness up by walking to work. So now it's making it quite difficult. So, this is frustrating me. Marsh pleaded guilty to using threatening behavior likely to cause distress and racially aggravated harassment at an early opportunity on May 5th at the same court. Marsh reappeared at Folkestone Magistrates Court on August 24th, where he was told he would not be sent to prison because of his circumstances.
Yeah.
Defending, Marsh's lawyer said since September last year, now remember the event occurred in August last year, right? So he suffered an extremely serious case of heart failure and lost his home. I don't feel bad for you, Marsh. I don't feel bad for you, right? Since his release from hospital, the pensioner has been living in temporary accommodation, the court heard. His lawyer told the court he is not abusing drugs or alcohol any longer. He can't, as he has harmed himself enough already. Marsh was handed down a 6-week prison sentence, suspended for 12 months. But he was told he would not have to pay compensation to his victim, as it was not deemed appropriate in this case, but would have to pay £85 in Crown prosecution service costs and £154 victim surcharge. Now, I don't know what a victim surcharge is. Let me stop sharing. I don't know what a victim surcharge is, but I'm curious. I would be very curious to read the records of that matter and figure out why, or the decision of the judge, and figure out why they consider that it was inappropriate to pay victim compensation in that case.
I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. By the way, this is one of the reasons why Papa Garvey advised us that we can't get into no working class brotherhood with the Mzungu. Yeah, he said because they have been unable to overcome their natural prejudice against African people. All right, so there's no black and white united fight, working class, unity and that thing there. That's a lie. It's a fallacy. So what I'm gonna do, we're gonna talk offline, Imhotep. I don't know what help Pops is getting, but we'll see if we can get him some more help. Yeah. For the challenges that he's dealing with. So yeah, we'll talk offline about that, King. But thank you for sharing that, and we'll see what we can do. All right, we'll see what you can do. Feel free to stay where you are, Imhotep. The line is open, kings and queens. Yeah, the line is open. You're watching or listening to Zivanayi, our weekly live show, which is Open House. And yeah, man, what I'm making noise there. Sankofa, the future of Black history, is approaching in the month of October. For those who are not aware, watching internationally, October is Black History Month in the UK. And we have a Black History Month series coming. So do check it out. All information to be found at gotkushTV.com. gotkushTV.com. Once again, gotkushTV.com. For all information to come and see myself, Brother Robin Walker, Sister Aya Eneli, and the Brother Asar Imhotep, breaking it down in terms of the future application of an understanding of our history. All right, Kings and Queens, check it out. All subject matters and information to be found once again at gotkushtv.com. Mr. IC Tree, what's your contribution to this evening's proceedings?
I'd like to talk about the theme that you're on, but I'd like to also make a comment on what Seth Imhotep was saying.
Yes, sir.
Because when I was unemployed, I lost my job because of institutional racism. Then I became unemployed, and then I went to the job center, and then I fell out with the job center because I'll cut it short. I basically said to them, look, I'm a black person classified as black, and I've just lost my job. So I want you, which would have been a job advisor, I want you to advise me as a black person how to avoid racism, how to avoid working for another racist company. So you're supposed to be helping me. So what advice have you got for me? A black person, what should I do at an interview? What questions should I ask? How can I avoid ending up working again for a racist company? And cut long story short, I ended up getting sectioned. Classified as mentally ill, because basically they said because they couldn't answer the question, they were unable to advise me, and it went higher and higher and higher up the different levels. Then they brought in this adjudicator. And the adjudicator said that a doubt has arisen on your claim. Therefore, I lost the claim. Therefore, I lost the house, and so on and so on. Yeah. So the question if you get an opportunity to ask your father, what would your father say to that question? Because he's on the other side of the desk. You see, how would he say? What would he say to a black person that said to him, "I want you to advise me how to avoid working for another racist organization"? So I just thought I'd leave that there with you, and it'd be great to if you get some feedback just to hear how, because everybody else couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle that question. They lost it. So it would be good to hear from him who understands. He understands.
Yeah, I couldn't pretend to answer for him because he and I have such varying or such divergent views. The European, but I'm sure he would have an answer that you're interested in, and I will ask.
Yeah.
Next week to
Man.
Or send me an email. Yeah. So going back to what you were saying, ShakaRa, is that how you highlighted that you have the state work together with the private companies, works together with the threesome. Usually I see it's the twosome. They put PG in the middle.
It's actually a foursome. Yeah.
You see how these people play.
Yeah. The one thing I forgot to highlight was the educational institutions that conduct the research. Yeah. So it's not just corporations, but it's colleges and universities. Yeah. So these four legs, they work together in this Western imperialist dynamic. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So in this working together, it's hard to see what it is that keeps them working together so effectively. We know it's white supremacy, but it's hard to prove that. You see, how are you going to prove that? Go on.
It's not. No. Sorry. One of the beautiful things, one of the beautiful things about the white man, for example, let me give you an example. Because you remember I mentioned Napoleon.
Yeah.
At the beginning, because they showed the trailer to Napoleon. One of the things that Napoleon said in response to the Haiti Revolution is that neither Britain nor America wants a Negro Republic in the Caribbean any more than France does. Yes, because it's a challenge to white power.
Yeah.
All right. You look at documentation throughout the enslavement process, colonization process. They're very clear, right, about their whiteness and what that means geopolitically. Yeah, this is not hard to prove. Yeah.
All right. Let me challenge you on that. Challenge you on that. This is cutting edge because this is the new mode. What they're saying is, look, when they defeated Hitler. So basically, white supremacy has been over since 1945. When they defeated Hitler, that's a symbol that they are. There's no longer white supremacy, and the idea is right. And so what's your counter to that?
The power dynamic that still exists is the counter, and I take your point that they're no longer speaking.
My point is what the tax bill mean when I say that. Go on.
No. I take your point, right? The point that you're making is that the language has changed. Yeah, so it's less obvious. It's more subtle and so on and so forth. But the reality is that's why I engage in an analysis of the geopolitics of the situation. Yeah, so we look at the geopolitics of the situation. So, for example, we see that the American government were able to control the import, export, and price of uranium. Yeah, during that reality still persists to this day. Congo, literally is still an economy that exports raw materials for the benefit of European in general, and particularly American corporations. It's just that when it was uranium in the 1940s, today it's coltan.
Right.
So the language isn't there, but the dynamics, the actual material conditions remain the same.
Right. But what the angle they say is, look, because America fought to defeat Hitler, right, that means America is not a white supremacist entity. That's the angle they take. And they say that unless you can prove white supremacy in the documentation, unless you can say that the state is a white supremacist state and you can prove it in the courts, in their courts.
Yeah. The trick is
then it's not you can't accuse them of white supremacy.
And that would be the case if we restrict ourselves to their standard of justification. Yeah. Right. So by that standard, if we restrict ourselves to that standard, then it might be quite difficult. One of the biggest examples of this is in fact the state of Israel.
Right.
Which we won't go into today, but the fact of the matter is that Hitler, when they came against Hitler, they didn't come against Hitler in the name of liberating the world from colonization and oppression. They came against Hitler because he was committed a genocide against a specific group of people. All of the Western nations that came against him were collaborating in the continued maintenance of colonization in Africa and the Caribbean, and only let go of it, yeah, because they couldn't hold on no more, yeah, because the war effort had basically expended a whole heap of their resources. Yeah. And so I'm saying that this is the importance of the analysis that we engaged in today. It's a Pan-African analysis of a film, yeah, that was looking at history, that doesn't place the relevant elements of it as far as we as African people are concerned in the film. So their analysis, yeah, and how they develop their analysis. I'll give you an example of what you're saying. The idea since 1945, it's not just the fact that they're no longer white supremacists, it's that race doesn't exist. Yeah, there's no such thing as race anymore. Yeah,
okay.
Race is not a biological phenomena. Yeah, and that's all post 1945 rhetoric.
That's right, propaganda. That's right.
Prior to 1945, race was everything. Yeah,
that's right.
Right.
Yeah,
and the propaganda changed in order to justify the West as the bastions of human rights in the world. Yeah, but even how they write human rights documentation together, when we study the history, is designed to maintain their power. One example: if you look at genocide in international law, even the terminology genocide was developed specifically to address the crimes that were committed against the Jews in Germany, or in Europe, at the hands of the Nazis. All right, and the definition that we get of genocide in the UN Human Rights Charter, I believe it is, or one of the documentations anyway, the UN documentation, is political, because the person whose name I'm forgetting at the moment, who was responsible for pioneering the development of this idea of genocide, had a lot of factors in it, including cultural, that were not included in the final definition that was presented before the world. Why? Because if they basically everybody that was involved in writing the document was guilty of that definition of genocide.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So they removed elements of the definition so that they could specify and keep it confined to Hitler.
Yes, that's right.
Yes? And even that was a magic trick, because even what Hitler did, they had been like Belgium had killed more people in the Congo. Yeah, with the assistance of Britain and America, and all of them, right? So even that was sleight of hand. So I'm saying that we cannot confine ourselves to their argumentation, their logic, because it is designed to maintain their power. We have to form an historical analysis from our own center. That is the only way to get around that.
Right. Okay. So watch this then. So do you want to say something, Imhotep? Yeah. Okay. So
if have one more go this round, IC3. I've got African Cinema and Bunya in the back as well, so they're gonna want to come through. So got through IC3, and then I'm gonna move on to one of the other brothers.
Yes. So the effective counter is that because you can't actually use the language anymore, because we're not racist and there's no racism anymore. As propaganda. That means you have to create another entity that's outside of their system completely. You can no longer argue and get justice within their system or within their court system.
100%. That starts though by being able to think outside of their conceptual confines. Yeah, is the point I'm making. You know what I'm saying? So I'm agreeing with you. So yeah. All right, we'll come back to you, Mr. IC3. African Cinema.
Hey, wait, one second.
Yes, sir.
Check the back chat there, brother ShakaRa.
Okay. Yeah, when I call them, you know. When I call them, you know what I mean? But yeah, if it happens, it happens. But yeah, when I call them.
Oh, yo, hey guys, back again. So I was hearing IC3. That was very interesting. 'Cause I think what he was talking about, I kind of think of as like a new liberal style of racism type of thing, where they try to say, okay, racism is done, in so doing kind of excuse racism. But I think what you need to remember is apartheid, because they keep trying to get you focused on World War II, but you can remind those type of arguments that apartheid existed up to 93, right? So you can't say hate disappeared in 45 if apartheid was a state state sanctioned racism up to the point of 93. So they can't use that argument. But yeah, since I was here talking about Oppenheimer though, which is like European cinema, I wanted to ask.
Sorry, King. Just before you move on, just not just the South African state. These people backed that oppressive South African state well up until basically it ended, yeah, until it was literally falling apart at the seams. All of them, Britain, America, yeah, and you know what I'm saying, in particular at the time, Reagan and Thatcher, yeah, who were the last, you know, at the end of the apartheid. They backed that apartheid regime and considered the ANC a terrorist organization right up until the end.
And they even pressured Jamaica. They pressured Jamaica about speaking out against them and stuff. But
that kind of different. Yeah.
Meanwhile, the founders of Israel is some terrorists as well. Yeah, they do consider them well. The actual founders of apartheid nation was actual terrorists, and they calling them that. They
100%.
Yeah, but next thing I wanted to ask, like the panel, since we're talking about European cinema, is like, what would be each of you guys' favorite African or Jamaican Caribbean movie, right? So that's a question I'll throw out there to everybody. So that's it.
Me have the right man for answer that question there, right? You know, yeah. Me have the right man for answer that question there. Step up, Mr. Bunya.
Why are you doing that, bro? Hold on, let me do a mic check. Hold on, I'm a bit low. Yeah, check.
Yes, I got you.
Yeah, man. No, I don't have greetings, everybody. By the way, greetings. OPPENHEIMER, you know.
Oh, wait, are we announcing new information?
No.
All right, cool. I'm just making sure.
I knew you, boy. I shouldn't even come on it because this guy is in his big mouth, man. Anyway.
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying. All right, go ahead.
No, I don't actually have a favorite. Obviously, Baba Semben is a giant. You know, you got a few of them out there, man. You got what's his name there? The one is a couple from Burkina Faso. Do you know what? It's actually a bit of a more interesting conversation to have about Caribbean cinema. Yeah, at this point, there's a distinct lack of knowledge on Caribbean cinema, and I'm catching up myself. Yeah, I can't lie, I'm definitely catching up myself. So, you know, we've all seen like the Third World Cup and and Dancehall Queen and you know what I mean, rockers and all of that.
Shatters. Don't forget Shatters. Get the what? I left the what? Yeah, there you go.
You know, but what's your so I don't want to. What's the reason for your question, brother? African cinema.
Oh no, it's just because we're here talking about Oppenheimer. You know, it's always nice to reflect on our efforts. You get me? In a similar thing. I would say one of my favorites is The Lunatic with Muta Baruka in it. You know that one?
I've not seen that.
No, I don't know that one.
You can look. I think it's even on YouTube. It might be free on YouTube. You can see.
The Lunatic, yeah. I mean, I know that one there. I'm gonna mention two. One, it actually features Muta, and that's Sankofa, written directed by Haile Gerima. If you haven't watched that film, get to know and watch that film. And and Chedo by Usman Sambin. He is who Bonya just mentioned, and he's from Senegal. They consider him the father of African cinema. So I'm gonna mention those two. But yeah, so ones can check that out. But it's because of the narrative and the intentionality behind. More for me, it's mostly what the directors were trying to do. Yeah, with their use of this medium, of that medium in those films. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. You say African cinema is defined not by the the origins of African cinema are not necessarily defined by the first movies to be made in Africa, as many of them will be by Europeans. Also, it's not defined necessarily by the first Black African man or woman to make a movie on the continent. It's more the ascension of an idea of the African identity that arrives with the arrival or the return of Sembène to the continent after being in. I know Kofi's gonna be mad after being in communist Russia in the Soviet Union to go and study film, because he wasn't allowed to study in Senegal. The French had put a ban called the Laval Decree on all francophone African nations. No Black African speaking French is allowed to camera. So
no, that's what you call the free market at work, brother. That's the free market at work. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, Kofi's probably having a fit right now. Kofi, calm down, bro. It's all right, man. Don't worry.
So yeah, Bonya, did you have a contribution on Oppenheimer or the discussion prior to as well?
I haven't watched it yet. I was gonna watch it this week, but I will. Sorry, last week. I will watch it this week. I just always gravitate towards IC3's story. I've heard it before in much greater detail.
Right.
And yeah, I kind of highlighted his question, which I think is a phenomenal question that I've heard again many times. How do I avoid being employed by a racist organization? None of them people can't answer that question. It's not.
I'm not sure it's entirely possible either. As far as living within the system of white supremacy is concerned, like you have to be developing parallel economy for that to be a possibility, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Yeah, but it's not about. We understand the question from our perspective, but let's look systemic. Yeah, what is the procedure? You are being paid to advise me on how to look for work. Yeah. Therefore, when you go for an interview, so that's the angle I'm saying. As you're a professional, what is the advice? And a lot of them told me, "Oh, come on, you just got to accept it." I said, "Could you put that in writing? Put that? Could you? What did you say?"
Yeah, man, he's right. He's right.
You're not wrong. No, I know. I was actually answering from our perspective. I'm not saying you were absolutely right to take them through the process, if that makes sense, right? Of asking those kind of questions. I think that's important, and it's also the reason why we need African-centered psychology, because it takes those things into consideration. You know what I'm saying? African-centered therapy, and those kinds of things. It takes those things into consideration, So yeah, So give thanks. But yeah, I agree with you, Bunya, that these stories need to be told. Maybe one day we'll do a film on Mr. IC3's story. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, and break it down for the people there. Yeah. Either a documentary or a feature, or to have a brief reenactment.
Who do you want to play? You IC3. Who do you want to play?
Other than Denzel Washington, of course.
I have a probably premature announcement, but I hope you all allow me to make it, right? There was a time I would have. One more time?
No. I said you're gonna make me sound bad now. Go on.
Oh no. Mine is definitely premature. But I came on the panel at some point, and I had shared the journal of Jean-Jacques Dessalines And I had expressed that while I do want to finish it, there's another universe that's building off in my head that I just can't seem to get out. So I want to get that story out first, right? So the sister, Rose, Empress Kush, I think she goes by sometimes, when she comes on the panel, we've actually been conversing off of the panel because she said she publishes children's books and that kind of thing, right? She gave me some fantastic advice, which is instead of solely focusing on trying to figure out what the history is, and just building out the universe, start to write little mini stories about things that I'm already aware of I want to happen in the story, write those little mini stories. And because of her advice, I've been able to progress a lot in writing this thing. So I'm hoping by the end of the year to be able to bring out something for you guys to be able to read. And hopefully, you know, something that the community can look forward to being published in the near future, you know?
Yes, yes. Yeah, well done for the progress, brother. We look forward to it.
And that's what it's about, you know. We're breaking down Rome right now, films from Hollywood, aka Rome, but the major development point out of all of these things is to develop our own, is to create our own. All right. The issue that I find though, I'm going to come to you, IC3, is that I know Bunya can speak to this. Yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna add to African Cinema's question and say the spook who sat by the door.
Oh yeah, classic.
Yeah. Not just because of the subject, but how it was made. Yeah. And if you look at Sam Greenley's work, and there's any number of interviews online of Sam Greenley discussing how he actually was able to make that film. And there's a documentary called The Rise and Fall of the Spook Who Sat by the Door. And it details the fact that the FBI basically shut down the film in the cinemas, and wouldn't allow it to be reproduced for sale. The FBI shut down that film. Came to cinemas and locked off the, you know what I'm saying, all kind of different thing, and had the actors under surveillance, the director under, all kinds of madness. That film, and so the documentary The Rise and Fall of the Spook Sat by the Door goes into that, and then that's how the film becomes an underground classic. Selling on bootleg DVDs and videos all about the place. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm gonna add that one to the thing.
Justified. Justified.
I see free. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, this thing you made the statement based on what the film you said. The black and white unite thing it can't happen. It's not going to work. Was that correct? Right.
I was more saying that in relation to Imhotep's story about his father and what Marcus Garvey taught us in terms of the fact that the working class whites generally have not been able to overcome their prejudice, and their white supremacist attitudes in relation to African people, and so it's a folly for us to be centering our fight on a supposed alliance with them.
Okay, but hold that point there. Is it true? I think I've heard it might be gossip that Marcus Garvey went to see the Ku Klux Klan. Is that true or what? Do you hear something like that?
It's a fact, yeah.
Okay. So if Marcus Garvey went to go and speak to the Ku Klux Klan, what was the minutes of that meeting? What was his mission there? What was he expecting from there? Because going back to what you just said, the working class white people are not expected to be able to overcome their racism. So Marcus Garvey must have known that the Ku Klux Klan aren't going to overcome their racism. They're going to be blatant racists. But he still went to see them. So is there any information on what happened and why Marcus Garvey went to see the Ku Klux Klan?
So another day we'll go into this in more detail. Cut a long story short, there was a number of reasons why that meeting happened. Marcus Garvey was actually touring the southern states of the United States at that time, and the members of the UNIA-ACO were coming up against resistance from the Ku Klux Klan whenever they were trying to do their work. There was a lot of scuffles and violence, between and among them. But what happened was that the Klan understood that Papa Garvey and the UNIACO were not promoting integration into America, and were not promoting in particular marriage to white women, right? So this is something that they appreciated. So on those two fronts, whilst Papa Garvey was traveling through the states, the southern states, he was invited to this meeting. He attended the meeting. There are no minutes from the meeting. There was no alliance that was formed between the UNIA and the Ku Klux Klan. But Papa Garvey considered, and there is in fact evidence for this, that the Ku Klux Klan was in fact the secret government of America. Yeah. So his meeting with the Ku Klux Klan was a meeting of enemies across a negotiation table, so to speak, as people do on the battlefield, for example.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And Papa Garvey said that he considers the Ku Klux Klan and the Anglo-Saxon Club better friends of the African than the liberal, than the white liberal. Yeah, because at least the Ku Klux Klan was honest. Yeah, so you see him coming basically, whereas the other ones are deceptive.
That's right.
So Papa Garvey met with government officials, and white reporters, businessmen, and so he met with the Ku Klux Klan. So people try to overplay, that meeting, but what came out of it. But it wasn't really as eventful as some people believe. But some people, especially integrationists in America, it incensed them that he even took the meeting, as though the American government was any better than the Ku Klux Klan.
That's right. Yeah,
the American government that was responsible for segregation, Jim Crow, and failing to do anything about lynching. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Right. I've got some new people. Sorry, a new person. I don't know who BHW is. So. BHW. BHW, you're muted if you are speaking.
Yeah, this is brother 21 from Black History Walks. Just popped in to say hello.
Tony Warner, you know.
Hey.
God.
Tony Warner in the building, you know. Blows and skirt. Hey, that's serious business, you know. Hey. Yeah, serious thing that Tony. Hey, so for those who are not aware, Tony Warner of Black History Walks is a very, very serious man. Yeah, and he hosts he's the founder of an institution that became very popular in the UK and in London for doing literal tours, around London. Exposing a lot of the hidden history and how it relates to African people in the UK. He's an author, in fact, in the words of the Black History man Robin Walker, this is the number one guy when it comes to the history of Africans in relation to Britain. So welcome, brother.
I was just going to shout out African Odysseys program, the BFI, because we showed Lumumba. And Lumumba is one of the most popular films we show in African Odysseys, because every time we show that film, we have a full house and the clinic for at least an hour. And that film was by what's the guy's name again? I forget his name. Director will come up. What's his name?
Yeah, I forget his name, but yeah.
I've attended one of the screenings at the BFI still.
Yeah, we showed a lot of films down there.
I'll get his name in a sec. But yeah, good film.
And of course, that's in the Congo, so it's very relevant to what you're talking about.
100%. Raoul Peck.
Raoul Peck. Now, Raoul Peck is a serious brother too. This man has got some serious films. In fact, one of his films is set in Haiti. I think it's called Dead Aid. It's about how the Western aid corporations are basically enriching themselves while saying they're trying to help Haitian people or black people, etc. So it's a really good film.
I'm actually yet to watch that film, that Dead Aid film. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. In fact, I actually went to see Lumumba in the cinema when it first came out as a child. I remember. Yeah, I remember because we was vexed because our parents bought homemade popcorn to the cinema. We was like, "What are you doing that for?" You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, but yeah, now and the circle of life, because I bring homemade popcorn to the cinema all the while. Shut up, everybody. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, brother. Tony, have you seen Oppenheimer?
Nah, I'm gonna watch it tonight. So I haven't seen it.
Is it? Yeah. Okay, well, I it's late, so I'm sure you're not going to cinema. I know you're a man that's got them special connections. You probably got the in-house, the home theater. You know what I mean? You're gonna put it on the big screen. Well, you know what? I look forward to if you have a breakdown. I'm not sure if you heard my breakdown earlier today, but I look forward to if you have a breakdown hearing it.
I tell you what,
Yeah.
I got a breakdown on The Little Mermaid. It's called The Little Mermaid's Real Black History in the Books to Prove It with Dr. Michelle Santua. We're doing it, I think it's the 21st September. It's next week or so. We're breaking down the real black history, African history, when it comes to how the Europeans kind of rip off African spiritual knowledge and practice and portray it as a white thing. And we're going to go through a few details when it comes to water goddesses and also the Hollywood machine, how they make money from other people's culture, not recognize the culture took the information from.
100%. That's a whole story in and of itself. Like Hollywood has ripped off stories from all kinds of cultures around the world. You know, and made millions, off of it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, family, what's the Black History Walks website, brother Tony?
It's www.blackhistorywalks.co.uk. Just blackhistorywalks.co.uk, and we got films, walks, talks, a couple of books out. We got a school book out for GCC level students, etc., based on the Notting Hill Walk. And that book, it features Dark as How, Black Hills Day of Action, Partner, Susu Box. And I got Duke Vin. I wrote that book, so it's got Duke Vin is in a GCSE exam, but they have to study at schools. It's got in police brutality. It's got in Joe Hunt and the West Indian Standard Conference. It's got in the fact that Joe Hunt wrote a booklet called N-Word Hunting in Britain in 1966. That's in the secret text. So that's on the website, blackhistorywalks.co.uk.
blackhistorywalks.co.uk, family. Make sure you check it out. Brother Tony Warner is a very, very serious individual. It's like it's an honor, to have man just roll up, on Zivanayi this evening. Thank you for joining us, Brother Tony. It's an honor and a pleasure. I've learned a lot from this man over the years, as have many, across the country. So we give thanks to Brother Tony Warner. African cinema, you're back. I don't know if you had something more to say because you dropped off and come back. So I'll make sure. You'll have nothing more to say.
Like,
African cinema.
Was there? Yeah, you can hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, was there any like black scientists, or did they show any black characters in Oppenheimer?
No, and I'll be honest with you, I was actually pleased for that. Yeah, I'm tired of seeing black people on TV and on screen in Hollywood movies, right? But what it is as well, to be fair, as I said, creatively, like as a film, if you like cinema, this is a good film to watch. But they're pretty accurate in terms of the times. So they don't try to fling in a black scientist. I'm not saying that there weren't any black scientists, but they don't try to, like the fact that black people were
no token.
No. There was a token woman, but she was the only woman that was in the Manhattan, like among the scientists in the Manhattan Project, basically, which is really depicting the actual nature of the time, if that makes sense. I don't know of any black scientists that were in the Manhattan Project, like directly. Robert Tony Warner, because you may know about this.
Yeah,
are you familiar with
Professor Greg Carr? Professor Greg Carr has a show. It's called In Class with Carr. They do it once every Saturday, and he talks about these 3 black scientists in senior roles in that project.
In that project,
they didn't get a credit for their work,
what they were doing. And so in that respect, the absence or the what's it called, the erasure,
omission,
is basically what is depicted in the film, if that makes sense, because they're not mentioned,
right?
But so there's one woman, but that's the nature of the time. White men were running the situation. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm a check out. I have been meaning to watch that episode of In Class with Carr. So I'm gonna check that out and come back with the information next week, and do some more research on those Africans who were involved in the Manhattan Project. You know what I'm saying? All right, family. Last chance. If you want, I'm actually just gonna share the link now. So I'm gonna close in like 15 minutes. So last chance. If you want to come through, join the conversation. This is your last chance. If you have a question or a comment, please at gotkushTV. Please at gotkushTV, so I can read it. But I encourage ones to watch this film and ask questions. Ask questions as you're watching the film about the hidden African Black history within it. And once you've asked those questions, do your Googles, yeah? You know what I'm saying? And engage further research. There's more I could have said in terms of how the USA continued to try and control Congolese mines and minerals. IC Freeze, your hand up?
Yeah. So what would you say? How does the Al-Kebalan movement, your movement, how does it engage with white people as an ally? Just like how white people went into Africa and then they, divide and conquered. So they had to make allies.
The short answer is we don't. The short answer is we don't.
What? You don't. So the strategy of divide and conquer, so we got to do the reverse. So the white people went into Africa.
No, the strategy. Yeah, the strategy is not in question. What's in question is our stage of development and organization as a people. You know what I'm saying? So you make allies from a position of power. Yeah, that is a position. Now there are other organizations and groups.
Are you sure? You said you make allies from a position of power. Well, when the white people arrived on African soil, they weren't in a position of power. So they had to make some friends.
Relative. They had bargaining tools. They had bargaining tools.
Yeah. So I'm saying relative power, yes. But the point I'm making though is that we're talking about. Put it this way: what they did have was a consolidated institutional foundation, yes, through which to negotiate, right, and from which to negotiate. And so our position as an organization is that as a people, that foundation needs to be in place, yeah, and solid. As Papagani said,
you have an organization.
But I wouldn't. Having an organization is not sufficient. It's about the stage of development of that organization, and we're not talking about the organization by itself. We're talking about our organization as a people, and our institutional power as a people. If that makes sense, yeah. Now, having said that, let me just say this: we're not the only Pan-African organization operating in the community and in the world, and there are other Pan-African organizations who actively seek allyship. Yeah, in various different kinds of ways, and so they will do that work. Yeah, and like you said, there are various different strategies. There are other organizations who focus on consolidating institutional power among African people in order to make those allied relationships, as and where they are strategically beneficial, more beneficial to us, rather than just us being absorbed in somebody else's framework, movement, organization, institution, etc., etc., etc.
Well, I think that only a small group of white people they move in as a small group, well organized, and the way they maneuver as a small group enables them to pull in a larger group afterwards. So the vanguard is always a small group. So all you need is a small group.
Yeah, but there are those who are doing that work, and maybe we, as Al-Kebalan, the specific organization, are not a part of that small group that is doing that work. We don't need to be. So those who are doing that work will do that work, and as and where it's strategically beneficial, we're good. Okay. Make sense?
Okay.
All right. What's it called? Yeah. So family, if you're just tuning in, we're going to be wrapping up soon. We opened the conversation discussing the film Oppenheimer and engaging in some of the Pan-African analysis that is missing in the film. Yeah, and we're not asking for the film necessarily to depict it, but we just understand and understand that as African people, it is our responsibility to look at these media products from our own perspective. And so we were breaking down the Manhattan Project and the fact that the key mineral that was required for the success of the Manhattan Project was uranium, and the number one place that uranium was available was in Congo, more specifically the Belgian Congo, i.e. Congo as colonized by the Belgians until the year 1960. All right, and so the film speaks about the fact that the Manhattan Project requires the uranium, but doesn't speak on where that uranium was acquired from. And so we were explaining the geopolitical machinations and the corporate machinations that went into the acquisition of this mineral uranium, and how Britain and America in particular related to the colonial Belgian government, and all three nations involved their corporations and educational institutions in the acquisition of uranium. And the point here is that, especially and in particular, as it relates to the Congo, that reality still very much exists. It just so happens now that uranium is still one of the primary commodities, but also, they're getting uranium from other places like Niger, and that's why what's happening in West Africa is so very interesting at the moment, because Niger has threatened to lock off the uranium supply as it stands at the moment. We'll see how we will see how that develops. But as far as Congo is concerned, the primary mineral today is coltan, which is one of the primary minerals, if not the primary mineral, that is used in all of our information and electronic technology as it stands at the moment. Yeah. And just as African labor was used by Union Minier to mine in the 1930s and 40s, same things happening today in relation to coltan in the Congo. So it's very, very important for us to understand the history and how it relates to the now, so that we can inform how we move in the future. Yeah. And that's what we've been doing today. And so after that, I'll open up the lines for brothers and sisters who want to join the conversation. Unfortunately, it seems that nobody cast a living crisis, lick everybody. Yeah, because nobody not go to see this film. Yeah. I'm not gonna ask how many of you went to see Barbie. You know what I'm saying? You know. But yeah.
I see free. You seen it?
No, I'm not going to see that.
You know what I mean? You know, yeah.
One brother asked me the other day. I was so offended, bro.
Bunya, I was going to ask a question though, because somebody mentioned something about developing African cinema. If African cinema asked that question earlier, right? And I know you're a man that can speak to this, yeah, in terms of how people, particularly in West Africa, are trying to engage the development of independent cinema that speaks to the social, political, and economic realities of our people, yeah. And we've had obviously conversations about the development of cinema and theaters, yeah, for actually viewing cinema. So just give our viewers a kind of an understanding of WAG.
So I can speak to Senegal, Gambia, Burkina Faso, and a few other nations in the region. Essentially, we're kind of in a transition period whereby the dominant force behind African cinema is still the French, right? And one thing to note as well, in terms of the subject matter, the thematics behind African cinema at the moment, is that it's still taking after. So what you would have had is you would have had the Sembène era, and then you would have had a significant drop off slowly that kind of reincorporates European ideas. So the genesis of African cinema through Sembène is kind of a peak, and then it kind of drops off, and the French get a stranglehold, because obviously after Sembène has been successful, the French have then reversed the Laval decree, right? And so they actually start to engage in the production of cinema in Senegal itself, and then obviously also throughout other French colonies like Mali and all these places. So that drop off.
Just to supplement what you're saying, the British are doing the same thing in Nigeria and in Ghana as well. Yeah,
right. A little bit different with the British, whereby the British they kind of not the opposite, but their approach was to actually arm Africans with cameras, but to steer them to make particular types of films and stuff. Such was the need for them to create a Nigerian identity, for example. So yeah, what coincides with the drop off, or the enhanced control of cinema by the French and the English, is also the adoption of European conventions of cinema, right? So the cinematic language that is learned, the same way like an African might learn how to paint. Yeah, they might have your own, your Yuli paintings and all this type of stuff, and the Endebele prints and stuff like that. You have that, but in the schools themselves, they're teaching the European way. So the language used in cinema from, like, say, the 1970s onwards is very much through the lens of the European. So we're reached, and we're still in. I can't even necessarily say we're transitioning out of it just yet, because if you look at the cinema that pervades the continent, you will see, you'll see Nollywood, how Nollywood is going, and Nollywood is just trying to replicate, right? There are elements of traditional cultural conventions in some of the cinema, but largely they're trying to replicate, right? These conversations are happening in public arenas at the moment. My time in Senegal, in Dakar, was quite interesting, because I did spark particular conversations around, not being afraid of the French, essentially, and speaking out, because privately, them man are having these conversations, but in public, they're afraid to, because their entire industry is dependent on the money from the French, and the internal ministry will, quote unquote, blackball you if you try a thing, and you won't have no career. You know what I'm saying? So it's a difficult one, but definitely those conversations were happening. There's a film out called, I think it's Able and something. It just won something at the Cannes Film Festival in June or July. And the way the synopsis is described is that it's a African take on Romeo and Juliet. Now, this is the type of stuff we're dealing with. Yeah. And it's celebrated. And I don't have the heart to consistently cast bad word on these type of things, right? To the people that I personally know, I don't have the heart to do it. Not on social media and not in public anyway. In private, I'll tell them what I think, but I can understand that they're trying to build an industry, and it's very important that they're able to do so, because without having that foundation, they're always going to be beholden to the conditions of production, right? Which is scripts are rewritten and redrafted on the basis of French and British opinion and German as well. The funding criterias and all this type of stuff. It's the same old story, So they do need to, whichever nation we're talking about in West Africa, do need to build their own industry. And a consequence of that process being as it stands now is that they're going to continue to, wrap it. But here's the thing, though. My engagement over there was to inform the people that we have allies on this side and in the Americas and whatnot that have the resources to be able to come together to actually make a mark, you know what I'm saying, and redirect the attention away from, the standard models of funding, and try to do a thing, man, because really in these places it's not that expensive to make films. We're not talking Europe.
Speak about the development of grassroots cinema in Senegal as well.
So the grassroots cinema in Senegal. So the drop off, as I've explained before, was partly politically motivated as well. You have a bunch of different leaders that come into power, and slowly but surely, for some seemingly strange reason, the arts begins to suffer. Now, Senegal is known for its artistic output in the world, not even just in Africa, but in the world. But in the 80s and 90s, you have just a depletion of cinema screens and a depletion of kind of community projects or just filmmakers and courses teaching filmmakers, they just disappear bit by bit. You have organizations that formerly had buildings ending up in what you might call a council block in a little ramshackle, you know what I'm saying? So by the time we reach the 2000s now, you have a specific group of people led by a great man called Abdulaziz Boy, who was a professor at the Sheikh Anta Diop University, who was a film aficionado, and he decided to take it upon himself to actually develop a film and after university film program for those students who are enrolled to actually start studying and watching film, because almost an entire generation of young people hadn't had that engagement with cinema, didn't recognize the home nation as the mecca, so to speak, of African cinema. So what was beautiful is that this was the genesis of a rebirth in cinema in Senegal, and by I think about 2014, they had maybe 3 different cohorts that already graduated by this time. Mr. Boy actually passed away around that time, about 2015, and beautifully the actual students swore to carry on his work. They now have a building in a place called Parcel 18 in one of the districts just to the kind of northwest of the city. And when I say to you, this is the model for community cinematic engagement that we need to be replicating. They operate on minimal resources. Yeah, they run a weekend program that is so the institution is the teachers of the institution are the students of the institution, former students. So there's a conveyor belt of teachers that come out and practitioners that come out of this cooperative that are basically fueling cinema in Senegal currently. They're beginning to be known worldwide. Of course, when you have Africans who are expressing any type of cultural cachet, the Europeans try and jump on it. So at the moment, you're having a lot of that as well at the same time. And I think at this point, as Pan-Africanists, it's very important that we try to stop that flow of manipulation. And be seen in these places and be seen to have these conversations with them, because there's a I call it the African intellectual asymmetry or information asymmetry, right? There's things that they don't know that we know, and vice versa, right? And we need to be coming together to be able to share that knowledge, because in the absence of those connections, the French are coming in and saying what they're saying and whispering in man's ear. The Germans are coming in whispering in man's ear. And so the trajectory of community cinematic development in West Africa will not only be stunted and stagnated, but will be completely corrupted and end up kind of what we have here in the UK, really, which is some really rich cinematic traditions that have gone the way of to the liking of the colonizer, I would say.
Yeah. Is it like the music industry? Is it the same problem in the music?
Similar vibes.
But yeah, to mention a few names, you have Sini Banlieue, as I mentioned. Also, you have Africa's first post-production academy, which is called Center Yenenga, which is also in the Baobab region. Sorry, Baobab neighborhood of Dakar. That's run by Alan Gomis. And you have a few other initiatives as well. So in Senegal in particular, things are booming. Burkina Faso is the home to FESPACO, so there's a lot of stuff going on over there as well. Guinea, there were one or two things popping off, but obviously there's been problems in the region there. But certainly, if you're interested, I'll be releasing some stuff. I've got quite a lot of research that I've done over the last 2 years from the region, so I'll be releasing some stuff, in good time for anyone that wants to know.
I'll tell you what, I do have on my personal channel. There's a powerful interview that I did with Brother Bunya and Brother Mike, who's in whilst Bunya was in Senegal, and we we have to follow up that conversation at some point soon, with some more conversation about cinema on the continent and how it's developing and what we can learn from it. And I know that shout out to now ancestor I'm having a situation today. You know who I'm thinking of, director from UK.
Menelik
Shabazz, for God's sake. Why, you get me? Yeah, Menelik Shabazz, yeah, one of my favorite, if not my favorite. Directors from around here. But I remember I've interviewed him, and he was talking about the fact that he was actually saying that the funding is actually the other way around. Yeah, if we look at the ways that brothers and sisters on the continent in the Caribbean are making films, we could probably learn something from them in terms of going to them for the funding to make some films. In that kind of way. I know he was doing that work. When he passed away, he was actually filming in Zimbabwe. So there's a lot of conversations that need to take place and things that need to be documented for future generations.
Yeah,
Go on.
No. I said it's exciting, really. But there's work to do, but it's definitely an exciting prospect that we need to action.
Yes, sir, most definitely. Well, we're gonna have more conversations right here on gotkushTV. Brother Tony Warner, if you're still with us, you're muted. If you're still with us, just check it. I wanted to give you the opportunity to.
I was in the kitchen. Sorry.
No problem. That's fine. Just announce your next event one more time for the people there.
Yeah, the next big event is going to be a breakdown on the Little Mermaids titled "The Little Mermaids: Real Black History." We're looking at African spirituality from Kemetic times, more recent times. Now it's been kind of ripped off and made into Hollywood movies, making a bunch of money for them, but not for us. And I'll be coursing with Dr. Michelle Santua. It's on our website, which is just blackhistorywalks.co.uk. That's it. Yeah.
All right, family. I'm gonna put the website in the chat right now. Yeah, so check it out, and then once again support the work of Black History Walks. Yeah, it's entirely important. And you know what, Brother Tony, what I'm gonna do is organize a Black History Walk with the gotkushTV audience. Yeah, we're gonna get at least 10 people to come through. Yeah,
that's cool. Because one time you came with a whole gang of people, like 40 people came down one time from the school.
Yeah. We've taken our Saturday school a couple times, and so yeah, you know what I'm saying. So yeah, we're gonna do that through. I'm gonna talk to you offline. We're gonna organize something, and we're gonna do something specially for the gotkushTV audience, so they can come through our Black History Walks. Because they're powerful. I learned so much. They're powerful walks, family. The history of our people is hidden all over this city, and in particular in the city of London. Lord have mercy. All right, family. Give thanks for that, Brother Tony Warner. The link, the Black History Walks website is now in the chat, family. So do check that out. And yeah, we're gonna wrap up now. So I'm gonna remove everybody from the platform. So give thanks, African Cinema. Bless up yourself. Giving thanks, IC3. Giving thanks, Imhotep. We're gonna talk offline. Giving thanks, Mr. Bunya, and giving thanks to Tony Warner. Yes, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that was appreciated. Yeah, if you know who Tony Warner is, that's a serious endorsement when he comes through the thing. All right. So yeah, family, just to wrap up, more let the people them know once again. Yeah, Black History Month in the UK is the month of October, and so next month we have a Black History Month series coming entitled Sankofa, the Future of Black History, featuring a weekly session workshop with 1, myself, 2, Robin Walker, 3, Sister Aya Eneli, and 4, Brother Asa Imhotep. The subjects will be 1, the future of Black history. Sorry, the future is black. Why is Black history under attack? 2, Robin Walker, we create value, the ingenuity of enslaved Africans. 3, Sister Aya Eneli, ancestral calling, agriculture, and the Opobo Library Initiative. and 4 with Asa Imhotep, Quantum Field Theory as African Heritage. All information, for all your information, check out gotkushTV.com. gotkushTV.com. You can also register and get your tickets on the website. You can register for each event individually, but if you want to come to all 4, register for the all use the full series pass, yeah, and you will get all 4 sessions, which are £10 each, for the price of 3. So that's £30 for all 4 of the sessions. If you are not able to make any one of those sessions live while the session is taking place, each of them begins at 7 p.m. Where it'll be GMT by that time. Yeah. If you are not able to make any of these sessions, actually, sorry, it's BST still, but then it will turn to GMT at some point. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right. If you're not, don't worry, you'll be able to watch it back. So playbacks are available. We will not be releasing these sessions to the public for at least a couple years. Yeah. So if you don't watch it now, you're not gonna get to watch it for now. All right. So do come true and support the thing. Once again, share the website and the flyer. You can download the flyer from the website as well. Share it far and wide. Yeah, let the people them know Got Kush TV has a special Black History Month series, and that each session has been geared towards highlighting not just the history, but how that history connects to the present and what that teaches us and what that says to us about how we progress forward into the future as African people. All right. So yeah, man, essential viewing. You can get a full breakdown of each of the sessions as well and what is going to be addressed, as well as bios of each of our speakers, so you know what all of us are about. I am also in the process of getting a few interviews leading up to Black History Month, and within Black History Month, though I will announce this from now. Yeah, one of the sessions that we're going to be doing during Black History Month is a panel discussion honoring and commemorating the 40th anniversary of the assassination of Maurice Bishop and the implosion of the Grenada Revolution. That panel is being planned right now. Yeah. And that one's going to be a public panel, so everybody can watch that one there. Yeah. And so the Grenada Revolution imploded and Maurice Bishop was assassinated in 1983. Maurice Bishop was the Prime Minister of Revolutionary Grenada between 1979 and 1983. It's an entirely important chapter in the history of African people in the Caribbean. And so we are going to be highlighting that in the month of October. All right, so do stay tuned. And like I said, we have a couple of interviews, yeah? Couple of interviews leading up to that point. Leading up to Black History Month, some special interviews. So we're organizing those at the minute, so stay tuned, yeah? And yeah, I might do, you know, although I might be getting somebody else from Trinidad still in my text. So stay tuned, yeah? Because I've got other plans for Sister Attila still. But yeah, you know, we may get her for this one, but stay tuned. But yeah, Grenada Revolution must talk about. All right, family, that concludes Zivanayi for today. Next week here, what I'm planning to do, and I may do, if I got the time to go through the videos, yeah, there's a video that was released by GB News. Yeah, GB News, well known as a conservative, ultra conservative, right wing media platform, comes up in the last couple of years in this country. And I was watching their coverage. They did a breakdown, an attack really, on Sister Esther Stanford Jose, leading reparations activist, and the reparations march on the 1st of Messiah. So me I watch this video. I'm gonna look on the video good. And my sister, the footage where them use, yeah, to launch this attack on Sister Esther Stanford Jose, was actually footage of gotkushTVs that we filmed live at the march. Not only that, them going our archive and draw events. Yes, the footage from events that we had Sister Esther and others speaking on, and pull snippets, yeah, from the events and quotations to paint a kind of image of Sister Esther and Sister Ribeiro Addy, who is the MP in Parliament who was lobbied by the reparations movement, which resulted in her in asking the question to the Prime Minister on the subject of reparations and reparatory justice. So what I'm planning to do next week, if I'm able to do all the requisite research and going back over the videos between now and then, is break down their video and use in which they use gotkushTV footage and analyze the narrative that they have constructed and juxtapose it with what was actually said at the reparations march and at the reparations events that we held with Sister Esther. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking I'm gonna go next week. If I'm not do it next week, I'm gonna do it some point in the future. All right, but I want to make you know, yeah, that no whole away as far as YouTube is concerned with the pan borrowed time. Yeah, and we need to be developing our own platforms. I had this conversation with Brother Asai Imhotep yesterday on Feeding platform. Yeah, and I want to know, say, these bigger platforms, them I watch with, and them I watch where we are do. I want to know that. Them well inner where we are do. Them know who I present. Them know who I watch. Them know who I feature. I want to just know that. Yeah. And they are researching media platforms like gotkushTV and studying us and what we are saying to gauge a barometer of the temperature of the black community in the UK and worldwide. Yeah. And so we're going to analyze what propaganda they're putting out about us. They never give me no credit on the video, you know. They just use up the footage, yeah, to attack our sisters. And so we're going to engage in some analysis at some point. Tendam Wali, be thankful unto the Mother, Father, Creative Life Force of the universe. Kudzai Muzimu. Give praises unto our great ancestors. Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahodie, African liberation and African power for all African people. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
gotkushTV presents Sankofa, the future of Black history, a unique Black History Month online series exploring all dimensions of time as we chronicle the Black past, command the Black present, and empower the Black future. Workshops include The Future is Black. Why is Black history under attack? With ShakaRa, We Create Value, the ingenuity of enslaved Africans. With Robin Walker, Ancestral Calling, Agriculture, and the Opobo Library Initiative with Aya Eneli. Quantum Field Theory as African Heritage with Asar Imhotep. For full information including dates and registration, visit gotkushtv.com. We have made history. We are making history. There is history still to be made. Sankofa, the future of Black history. A Black History Month series not to be missed.
Great flag of mine, great flag of mine, great flag of mine, great flag of mine, great flag of mine. Regardless of what's told of it, here's to this flag of mine, the red, black and green, hopes in future bright Africa has seen. Here's to the red of it, great nations shall know of it, in time to come, red blood shall flow of it, historians shall write of it, great flag of mine. Here's to the black of it, 400 millions back of it, whose destiny depends on it, the red, black and green of it, oh flag of mine. Here's to the green of it, it. Young men shall dream of it. Face shot and shells of it, waving so high. Here's to the whole of it. Colors bright and pole of it. Pleased is my soul with it, regardless of what's told of it. Thank God for giving it. Great flag of mine, 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 great flag of mine.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine bele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine bele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine bele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine bele obiama. Mina bakabusi nengre, me fele sama.
Mina bakabusi nengre, mine bele obiama. Mina